Hey everybody, Aaron here. Welcome to the Anime Talk, the show where I talk about things. That's the best way I can put it. I talk about random stuff that's anime related, bi-weekly, twice a week. I don't know what's bi-weekly means every other week. So this is twice weekly. What's twice weekly mean? I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna stop. Anyways, so today we're gonna be talking about tropes in anime, and I'm keeping that stuff in because I think that's actually funny. Um, we're gonna talk about tropes in anime. I thank Cozy for this. They gave me the idea to do this one. So, why do people like tropes? You know, it's kind of funny because it's something that you really have to ponder for a long time. Like, why do people like main characters that are overpowered, or why do people like characters that are very arrogant and cocky, and they love characters like that? Why do certain people, I think, side with villains more than they side with the heroes in stories? If you look at the nitty gritty of it, it goes into like looking at books, for example. Like a lot of books, people love, like for example, I hate mentioning it, but I'll bring it up. Twilight, for example, or Lord of the Rings, or stuff like that. I mean, I have to put in popular books regardless, because if I put anything that's not as popular, like there was a series that I read a long time ago called Sky Pirates, which was an no, I think it was called Airborne. I'm sorry, it was Airborne, and it was about like sky pirates, like essentially what sky pirates were, if that was a real thing. But one thing about the earlier books I mentioned is that you have a lot of different characters. You have characters that are really tough. You have characters that are just meant to be like handsome. You have characters that are meant to be sexual in terms of how they act. And what's funny about it is you can't really ask a person why they particularly like a character, because no matter what, you're never gonna get the same response. You might say, oh, for example, like why girls love Edward from Twilight so much. They'll say, oh, because he's very handsome looking, or he's very cool because he's very stoic and very quiet, thus making him a cool character. Equally, in Lord of the Rings, people like Legolas because he's flamboyant looking. He's very fast, and he's really good with an archer skill and stuff like that. Um, you know, it's the concept of tropes are essentially what we identify what we want from characters. That's probably the only thing I could tell you of why people love tropes so much in anime and anything in general. When you have, like, for example, I'm using you for Persona 4. One of the things about you that everyone likes about him is that he's a kind of stoic, insert your personality character in him. And the reason for that is because in the actual video game series, he's meant to be like that. You embody you. You're trying to actually, and that's why his name, I think, is you, Y-U-U, or I think Y-U is the correct Japanese version of how his name is. You're embodying that character. So thus, one thing that a lot of people have issues with harems, for example, is that you have to realize that the main character for those shows, like, I guess getting back to Persona, is that they're supposed to embody what desires you want per se. So you as a main character talks with everyone. He's very stoic when he comes to certain actions and all that. He has cool moments, but he also has moments where he's like, I'm not really that cool. I'm goofy. He does that because he's trying to embody everything that someone could put into him as a character design. In the video games, it's very similar because in the video games, you can make him an idiot. You could do that. Will he always be recognized as an idiot in the games? No, because no matter what, the story is driven forward by the fact that they are going to assume that you know what the hell you're doing. But more so is that no matter what, though, your dialogue choices, like when a character goes, oh, what should we do? And you go, I don't know, let's run away. That being the goofy answer of the three choices, or cowardly, that's what you would think that you'd want your character to do. Some people like the cowardice design characters, so they want characters that would run away before they actually stand to fight. Because realistically, if you saw a giant creature coming out of the ground, coming at you full speed, what would you really do? Even if you have a giant sword and you have a giant spirit aura behind you, I'd run away. I don't care who you are. You'd run away for the hills. Because the sheer fact is, hey, that's a giant creature that I should not be seeing in this world already to begin with, but now he's in front of me trying to kill me. You're running away. I don't care I don't care who in the comments writes down, because I know someone's going to do it. Go, I would stand and fight because I'm tough like that. No, you would not. Okay, I'm a tough guy and I stand my ground with a lot of things too, but guess what? Doesn't mean that you're going to stand your ground with certain things. I mean, I know when there's the moment where you have to run, and that, fight and flight reflex that we all as humans have. But the point I'm getting at is that, you don't want to see that per se in a character. So you might not go with that. You might, okay, so you want a strong character in your game, or you want a strong character in your anime. They are then going to embody that. So they have to embody certain things. Like, for example, let's talk about a newer series, Grimgar. Grimgar has a whole slew of characters right now that are being shown. You have the characters that are very quiet. You have the characters that are very kind spirits, but big bodies. You have girls that are kind of goofy and aloof, but still very collected when they have to be. You have one of the main characters who is a jerk to everyone. You could ask 50 people that are watching that show currently, and what you're going to get is different answers. You're going to be like, oh, I like Haruhiro because he's, a cool character that he doesn't seem like he doesn't want to be super great like the main character originally was, but he's trying to embody that. You have people that like Ranta because Ranta is arrogant and, funny because of his arrogance and his kind of stupid nature that he tends to say things without thinking. That's how it is. Tropes are weird because tropes are things that we identify ourselves with. You want characters that are cool. You want characters that are handsome. You want characters that are beautiful looking. Regardless of your gender, regardless of what, affinity you go with when it comes to that. That is what you want your character to kind of personify. You want them to have that, and that's what you're going to, like, link onto. You'll be like, oh, my favorite character is this guy from Code Geass or something. Like, for example, I just did recently probably Lelouch from Code Geass. You might like Lelouch because he's a character who takes charge and he's willing to take those risks despite, hurting other people in the process. You might like that type of character in your thing. You might also embody that because you're one of those people that takes risks even without realizing, oh, wait, who am I hurting in the process? And listen, there's nothing wrong. I mean, people do different things. The world is a very unique place in that there's no one person. But tropes in anime, in general, any form of medium, exist for that reason because they are meant to embody a character design, a personality flaw or personality concept strength that we have as human beings. Again, going back to you, because he's the best. I think he's the best example for this. Is that because he's a character that you can embody whatever you want onto him in the games, you essentially come out with what character you wanted him to be. So you want him to be a playboy, right? Okay, you go hook up with all the different girls in the game. You're trying to kind of dodge the issues because you could do that. But the issue is that sometimes girls will notice that you're hooking up with this girl and you're kind of betraying her, her feelings. But what's cool about that is because, hey, listen, there are people who do that. I have a friend that does that. He is notorious. He's a playboy. He goes around. He's done that before, and I'm like, dude, why do you do the stuff you do? I get pissed off at it, but I can't stop him. He's still my friend, but he's also dumb for doing what he does. But he is a playboy. He's someone that goes to a party. He can hook up with 3 or 4 girls there, and that's it. That's normal. That's a normal thing for him. There are people like that. Like, I know you might not like that. You might not. I don't like those type of people personally, but there are people that have that personality. They can do that. Equally, you have the characters that are shy. Haven't you mentioned? I'm a very shy person by nature. I'm one of those quiet people that I will talk when people approach me. I'm very talkative when you actually start talking to me. But otherwise, I'm very to myself. I don't really have I don't have a per se a bubble around me that doesn't allow you to approach me, because I have most of my friends in college especially are people that actually have come up to me and started conversations with me more so than me engaging them. But it's just how it is because that's just my nature. And equally, my nature, you can find a lot of anime characters. When I did my Q&A, I did a question that was, I forgot who actually asked me this, but they asked me, what character do you associate yourself with more than anything else? And I said someone from Kokoro Connect, it's Taichi, who his personality is that he's always willing to help someone, but sometimes it's the help that he gives that also hurts them because he's also hurting himself in the process, and they see that, I used to do that a lot in high school where I used to help people with various problems. And again, I know I mentioned that, but it's just, I got to get to the point of this. Because I mentioned this before and I'm going to try to brag about it. I swear to God, I really am not. But, one thing about that is you have characters like that in real life because I embody that in many ways. I do help other people. Sometimes I get enthralled and kind of enrolled into their concepts and their trials and tribulations because I'm helping them. But don't you have that in anime too? You have Taichi who exists. He embodies me. That's why I laugh because I'm like, that is what character I'm closest with that I could think off the top of my head. There's probably more of them that I could have thought of, but I'm like, at the top of my head, I thought, you know what? He's like me in a lot of ways, and thus, but he's a trope. He is a trope, just like you is a trope from Persona, just like anyone from Kokoro Connect has tropes. You have the tsunderes, you have the yanderes from other Future Diary, for example. You can name a whole bunch of series, and one thing that's awesome about them is tropes. But I know people go, I hate tropes. I hate tropes and I hate cliches. But you have to think that, be honest with you, what person in this world doesn't have a kind of cliche to them? I'm a cliched person. So is any one of my friends. One of my friends, for example, like going back to that Playboy guy, he's a cliche because there's other people like him. I know one of my other friends, he's a nerdy guy. He's cliche because he's a nerdy guy. It doesn't matter what you are because it's going to be conveyed in somewhere, in some form. It's been a trope. So I think, to answer your question, Cozy, and I think to answer everyone's question here, why do people like tropes so much? I think what it is that we can embody, and if you really think about this, it's truth, to at least to me, is that you could both embody yourself in that character, or you could see another side of something you want from yourself. So I think when you identify, like, for example, a you type character, you can see them being cool and collected, maybe when you're not cool and collected. Maybe you're a very panicky person by nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people come in different shapes and forms. But maybe you want to be cool, and maybe you want to be, stylish and stuff like that. So you see a character like Lelouch or something like that, who's politically strong and smart and, stylish. You see that, and you go, I want to be that person. That's why we get role models in this world, because role models are essentially tropes in themselves. You want your parents to be a certain way because you want to kind of embody their work spirit. Like my dad, my dad and my mom both have certain things about them that I kind of want to embody in myself personally. My dad's a very hard worker. I want to be a hard worker when I actually get a job. My mom is very smart. I'd like to be very smart when it comes to a lot of things. I know people tell me I'm smart, but I'm like, I am smart to a point, but I'm also, I have a lot to learn. It doesn't mean I'm a genius. Trust me. You go look at my college grades. My college grades are very high, don't get me wrong, but they're also not A levels all the time. I get B's, I get A's, I get C's also. I'm middle ground when it comes to that. So I like characters that are smart too in anime because I like to be a little smarter. I like characters that look cooler because I like to be a little cooler. It's just how we kind of embody ourselves. We want that type of character. That's why anime works best with tropes. And I know people say get rid of tropes and they hate tropes, but realistically, imagine an anime with no tropes. You would essentially have you from Persona, or you would have Minato from Persona 3. You would have them embodying characters, and they would be essentially nobodies. They would be walking just blank stares because they have no personality. You need tropes in anime. They need to be done because cliches need to happen in anime. It's just the main concept of it. That's the bottom line. Anyways, though, I'm gonna be done with this because I feel like I'm getting a little ranty with this, and I know you guys like my rants a little bit, so I don't really mind ranting too much. But I personally don't want to rant all day because I really could go into this probably all day, and I also don't want to repeat myself because I think I started repeating myself at the end of that. These, I'll tell you, man, these are hard to do sometimes. I love doing these, but they're, especially because I'm free throwing everything out there and coming up with the generic concept initially, but then going from that, it's sometimes hard. It really is. I actually going to be doing an anime talk on probably, I don't know if it's going to come out this week or next week, so I'm not going to put a date for it, but I'm going to talk about what reviewers on YouTube have to deal with, and I really want to get into that, so I'm going to have fun with that. But anyways, guys and girls, have a great day, week, whenever I put this up. I don't know if it's going to be a Monday or Friday, I don't know, but I really hope you guys have great days and have great weeks and all that, and until we talk again, have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.